Today's episode of South African Food Stories is powered by FNB Business. From foot in the door to an unstoppable franchise footprint, let FNB expert industry advisors help you grow and optimize your business. They've got a game plan full of expert-led support and tailored solutions. FNB Business, because help changes everything. An authorized financial services provider and credit provider. Some brands don't just sit on supermarket shelves. They live in our memories, in our kitchens, and in our family recipes. They show up at the table when we celebrate, and especially when we're trying to just get dinner on the table before everyone loses their minds. Today's guest has helped define what home cooking looks like for generations of South Africans. She didn't just create products, she created a standard. But instead of being some overnight success, this brand was built on old-fashioned sweat, passion, and real-world feedback, and a family willing to bet on themselves before anyone else did. This is the story of how a single woman's vision turned into South Africa's most iconic food brand. Ina Paarman, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thanks, Nicci.
What I'd love to find out from you today, and I'm sure all our viewers are really curious, is who is Ina Paarman and how did you become an icon, a legend in the South African food scene?
I certainly never intended becoming an icon, never mind a legend. But where do I start? I had, like probably most cooks, had a grandmother who was a great cook, and she taught me how to smell and how to taste, but not to talk. Children had to be seen but not heard.
Exactly.
Anyway, I became a home economics teacher, loved teaching, and went to travel overseas for the very first time when I was probably about 21 and had the opportunity to taste the butter in France, to taste the fruit in Holland and so on. And to my amazement, what we had at home was just as good or better. And that is where my firm belief came that everything from overseas is not necessarily better. Anyway, I eventually got married, had a family, and I taught at Wynberg Girls High in Cape Town for 7 years. Then I was headhunted by the Technikon, where I was a senior lecturer for about another 7 years. And I loved having the students. And I had the students taught me what it is that people really want, what it is that people really enjoy. Anyway, when I was in my 40s, one gets that 7-year itch, Jackie. Right. I'm sure you know all about that. And my mother, who was in business, said to me, "Why don't you start your own business? You're far too smart to work for the government."
Yeah.
And so she gave me 4,000 Rand. I converted our double garage into a classroom, and I started teaching cookery from home.
Right.
Which really was hard, Nicci.
How long ago was that? What year are we talking?
1982.
So for your mother, in those days, to say to you, why don't you go out on your own, was quite an unusual thing for a mom to do.
Yeah, but she was unusual. She was a widow who never remarried, who started her own business when she was in her 50s. And she was a believer in the fact that women have to look after themselves.
Right.
That's not good enough to hope you're going to find a man to support you Anyway, so I started the cookery school, and if I could tell you how hard it is to start with very little money for advertising. I put my children on their bikes and they put briefies in the post boxes. My mother is starting cookery lessons. In those days, nobody paid for cookery lessons. Your mother taught you to
Exactly.
cook.
Hopefully.
And anyway, I also put some little notices in the pharmacy. And the next day, I invited the pharmacist to attend the lesson. It was a lesson on chicken. And he came, he was divorced at the time, big, handsome Hulk. And he enjoyed the lesson, ate just about all the food because starved. The next day, I went into the chemist to get something for my nerves because I was finished. And as I walked in, the pharmacy was full of Constantia elderly ladies who'd been on a garden outing. And the pharmacist, Noel, came up to me and he put his arm around me. He said, "Darling, you were magnificent last night." I thought, God, what a way to start a business. All these ladies perked up. But that,
Love that.
was anyway. Then the business grew slowly. Eventually we had a long waiting list, and I heard the little secretary that I could afford at that stage say on the phone, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Rupert, the class is full." I thought, please, sometimes you can make an exception.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, then I started with journalistic work. Jane Raffaeli asked me to become the food editor for Femina magazine. I wrote a regular column for the Die Burger, the newspaper, and I had a series of programs on Good Morning South Africa, which helped, without me realizing it, to establish the brand name. My youngest son, who was, look, all mothers say that, but he was really a bright boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was at university at this stage doing a business degree, and he was in his final year of CA. He's done his articles, Albert. And one night at the dinner table, he said to me and my husband, "I'm not going to be an auditor." I said, "Graham, please, with that piece of paper, you can work anywhere in the world."
Yeah.
"I don't want to work anywhere in the world. I want to work right here. Let's start a business, Ma." I said, "What do I know about a business? I'm a teacher." So he said, "What's the problem? You can cook and I can count and Dad can look after the books." That is the foundation that business was built on. You know, they say to have a successful business, you need 3 people. You need a creative person, you need somebody who's figure literate, and you need a son of a bee who can get the money in and keep the books in order. And that's absolutely true. And that is, with the 3 of us, we had exactly the right talents to make a success of a family business. And Graham is now the managing director of the business. I'm still involved with product development, social media, and my husband, until he passed away, was very involved with the administration of the business. I remember one day he spoke to a customer who owed us money, and he wasn't particularly nice to this person. So when he put the phone down, I said to him, "Ted, you don't speak to customers like that." And he said, "Ina, they're not customers, they're thieves, they're stealing our money." Yeah. That is the difference between somebody who's generous, who wants to give away everything. I still feel guilty charging people for one of our products. But anyway, I think in many ways it is such a passion with all of us to produce the very best that we have in South Africa, and to give the consumer exactly what she wants and what she needs, not some stupid thing full of chemicals.
Exactly.
Something that she can give to her children with confidence, like your mom did.
Yes.
We owe her a debt of gratitude.
We grew up with chicken, lemon and herb on everything.
Yes.
The Ina Paarman lemon and herb was a staple growing up, as well as the stocks, everything. Yeah, my mom wouldn't even bother cooking without your products. So where did you start? What were your first products and what inspired those?
In fact, the very first product is a seasoned sea salt, which is still on the shelf today. And then we started making a lemon and herb salad dressing.
That's right.
And one of the products that stand out as change the scene a little bit was when we came out with those doy packs of sauces, and I kept on thinking, why are we spending all this money on expensive bottles that you have to throw away?
Yeah.
And in order to, my father had a dairy farm, and it was close to a glass factory. And I saw just how much energy was burned to melt sand to make glass bottles. That's far more energy intensive than plastic. Although plastic, please God, we find a good alternative, and there are much better alternative already available. But anyway, it was a game changer when we stopped spending an inordinate amount of money on packaging and focused on the contents. And then another big breakthrough came for us when Woolworths, at one stage, they actually, in the 80s, had our products on their shelves. And we were the first to make products without MSG in, without preservatives in, and so on. And something that stands out is in 2000, we were growing too fast. And that year will stand out in my memory as the most difficult year we ever had. We had big export orders from the UK, and they had a rotten summer, and the products that they imported were all summer-related products. After the end of that stormy, windy, cold summer, they sent the products back, most of what they'd bought. So by now, the products were running out of code. And we had invested in computer systems, in more staff and so on, in order to fulfill those orders. Anyway, when we were stuck with all this product coming back and with over-engineered system, we had to pay off people. Everything was already hocked. The house was hocked, the cars were hocked, everything. And my poor husband was sitting up at night smoking one cigarette after the other, worrying about the fun. I remember going to see with Graham, the bank manager, on my knees. And he looked at me and he said, you know, on paper, I shouldn't give you a loan. But my wife comes to your cookery lessons and she thinks you are amazing. So I'll give you the loan.
That's amazing.
Which was a big breakthrough for us. But so running the business has never been a straightforward, easy thing.
Never is.
And the main responsibility was carried by my son, who worked like a dog, who trained the staff, who tasted every vegetable and every herb that came in to make sure everything is as it should be. And we now employ about 250 people, and everybody who visits our factory, I know it's a factory, but we still call it Ina's kitchen, because everything is made like one would do at home.
Yes.
And they remark about the staff. Everybody's smiling, everybody's happy. You can't make good food in an unhappy factory.
Exactly.
I think if your heart is in the food, if it's part of your DNA to use only the best quality. And of course, life has changed enormously for housewives and for everyone. When I started the school in 1982, very few women worked.
Exactly.
And most of them had a live-in maid. So today it is very different. People are time poor. They are tied into enormous family commitments like always, but now they've got to balance their children, their domestic responsibilities, their husband's demands. He could be demanding, he could be extremely helpful, and a lot of men are cooking all of a sudden. Because when the when the family comes home, the wife's first concern is the children. His first concern is, I'm hungry, so you get going in the kitchen while I see to the homework, kind of thing. And as a result of that, our development has gone along the lines of making products that will not give you an inferior eating experience, but a superior one with less time. So the first step in that direction was our cheese sauce.
Can't go wrong.
When we went to the buyer to say, well, we've got this cheese sauce, he says, everybody knows how to make a cheese sauce. So I said, David, not everybody has the time to make a cheese sauce, and not everybody has somebody to wash all the dishes that go with the cheese sauce. Anyway, that is, an enormous success. We sell tons and tons of that.
What
sauce.
Inspires you to create new products? Where do those ideas come from?
It comes from what we are personally in love with at a particular time, and what my customers on social media tell me they need.
Right.
We've just launched a new range of products called Flavor Bombs.
Yes.
So it is a concentrated flavor paste. So when you're making chicken breasts, which is everybody's stand breast, chicken again, there are ways of making chicken taste wonderful without spending hours.
Yes.
And without having to collect 20 ingredients.
Today's episode of South African Food Stories is powered by FNB Business. Delivering, dining, or dishing, FNB provides the game-changing financial strategies and tailored business banking solutions to help hospitality businesses grow faster and smarter. FNB Business help changes everything, an authorized financial services provider and credit provider.
I think the Ina Paarman way is doing things the right way. In other words, you don't say, it's okay. It's either 100% or it's not good enough.
Exactly.
Start again. For instance, when I developed our chocolate cake, which is now, I believe, the most popular cake, I did, when we do a new recipe, we write down the recipe, make it up, taste it. No, it needs more of this, more of that. Start again. It's a tedious, terrible process. By the time I got to 120 chocolate tries, my husband said to me, Ina, I think that is enough. You can't make it taste any better. But I started out with a clear mission. It must taste like chocolate. It must be moist after 3 days still. And what was the third one? It must be so easy that nobody can have a flop.
Yeah.
Because interesting, with the experience I've had working with women, there is such a ego involved in that cake coming out of the oven.
Yes.
If that cake is a flop, you feel like a flop.
I feel like a failure. Yeah.
So this chocolate cake must deliver every time.
Love that.
And it has. So that recipe is written in stone, and nobody is allowed to change it. I try not to interfere with Graham, and that's one of the things we've agreed. The chocolate cake, no matter what the price of cocoa does,
yes,
we can't put less cocoa into it. That's unfortunately a problem with price fluctuation of raw materials. For instance, olive oil. The local farmers get overseas prices for their olive oil. So whether you import the olive oil from Italy or whether you buy it from somewhere in the Karoo, it costs you the same. And sometimes you get a better price because in France and Italy they have subsidies for farmers. So it's a that whole managing the ingredient base is a complicated thing.
Right. Commodity prices can take you out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it breaks my heart when somebody says, but Ina, the stuff is expensive. But I can't make it cheaper.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's still cheaper than eating out. Let's face it.
Anyway, I always say, just use less. Don't stop anyway.
So you could have retired years ago. You could have sold your brand to some big company for millions. What keeps you going?
A sense of responsibility to all those people who helped us in the beginning.
Right.
And how can we now just drop the ball? And we've had numerous requests from various large companies. We've even had the Mars company from America who wanted to buy in. And actually, just by the way, when they came to see us, one of the family members, Jackie Mars, walked with me through our little factory at the time, and I said to her, Jackie, what on earth are you looking at this tiny little business at the other end of the world? You've got factories in Russia even, they were starting in England, America, all over. She said, Ina, I have never tasted homemade food made in a factory.
Yeah.
Do you like to travel? I'd like to put you on a plane to visit. I said, Jackie, I don't want to travel. I've got to be here. Anyway, Graham listened to the whole Mars story. They sent us to Australia where they had state-of-the-art factories. And I was fascinated by what was happening there. Graham got gloomier and gloomier. And he said, Ma, we don't want to be involved here. It's their way or the highway. And the first, just look how they make their sauces. And it was an eye-opener. They had a big vat with some stodgy tomato sauce in and dumped some frozen vegetables in there. Anyway, it's not the way we do it. We, for instance, I mean, you must actually come and visit our
Love to.
Nicci, like the vegetables that go into our pasta sauces, we roast them over an open fire so that you get that fire-grilled flavor into the red peppers.
Yes.
The way we make our basil pesto, we get farmers now to grow herbs for us. The basil comes in, it gets blanched in boiling water, it gets immediately dumped into ice water, and then it gets processed with utmost care. In fact, everything tastes longer or tastes better because it's made properly.
Because it's real food.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, people always talk about the quality of ingredients and how important it is, but they don't realize it's everything. And why do you think your clientele or your customer base is so faithful to you? Because there's so much to choose from out there. There's so much noise on the shelves.
Yeah.
Why do we keep coming back to Ina Paarman?
I think I really don't believe it's because of the brand name. I believe it is what is delivered on the plate.
Yeah.
That, if somebody prepares a meal and it tastes great and the family or the guests say, "You're an amazing cook," then you must know she's going to repeat that.
Yeah. That's the secret sauce.
Because she gets the accolade. Yeah. She's the star.
Yeah.
You've got to think of the customer.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not about making money. In fact, our accountant did a graph the other day to show me, and I was flabbergasted. The first 10 years, Nicci, we never made a profit. Yeah. We just managed to survive. And only after that, it slowly started ticking up. We now, we've been supplying Woolworths all these years, but we are also got a growing export business. In fact, what really tickled me is our chutneys are now imported into Germany. So, but it's very rewarding for our staff. Everybody's happy and proud to be part of a quality product. Nobody wants to work for somebody who does third-rate junk.
Exactly, yeah. Everyone making food in the food game wants to get into the big retailers. And it's not easy. How did you get that right?
I don't know. I think it's probably just hard work and determination, like a dog with a bone.
Yeah, and I think you've got to just be willing to put up with the tough times and know that they're going to probably be a lot more tough times than good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there is definitely. And unfortunately, what happens to your family life is you never talk about normal things like normal people.
Yeah.
You talk about
business.
The business.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So speaking of family, are there still family favorite meals that you all cook at Christmas time or at birthdays?
The trouble with us is we continuously trying new things, but they are favorite meals.
Yes.
For instance, with this new flavor bombs that we have, there's a peri-peri one that makes the most amazing peri-peri prawns. In fact, I brought a sample for you. And there's another one that if you use it on steak, it gives you the most beautiful, proper steak, like steakhouses used to make steak in the old days.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
The char grill flavor. And I mean, if you really want to go to town and use Wagyu beef, then it's wow, it blows your mind. The downside of eating well at home is you don't really enjoy restaurant meals.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm staying with my brother at the moment. When they open their grocery cupboard, it's full of Ina Paarman, but they eat very well. I'd like people to enjoy food and not just enjoy it, but to eat healthily. And honestly, you are what you eat. If you eat chips and junk food every day, you are going to see the results. And if you have health problems at 60 or 70 or 80, then probably most of it is to do with what you've been putting in your body since you're 5 years old.
Exactly.
That it's like a garden. That's what I used to say about teaching. I used to love teaching because it's like gardening with children. You give positive vibes into them and they blossom. And it's same with your body. If you nurture it properly and you create happy meals and there aren't too many dishes, then I've certainly achieved my life's work.
Love that. So what's next for your brand? I mean, you've come so far, and we always say in the show, and it's become a theme, that you can only see how everything connected looking backward, which is very encouraging because it almost seems like you were supported every step of the way, even through the bad times. What's next on the horizon for you?
I think Graham would like to expand the export side of the business. I personally feel that South Africa is one of the best kept secrets. The architect who worked with us on the various buildings we had to erect as the business grew tells us every day how many people are beginning to see South Africa as a safe haven. They are buying property, especially in the Cape, in Higo Vale and along the beachfront in Stellenbosch. The prices are
Crazy.
Exorbitant because there are so many overseas buyers. So once I've discovered our food,
That's exactly the truth. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't go back. Ina, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks,
A lovely,
Nicci.
beautiful conversation, and I'm an absolute ardent fan, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please don't stop supporting.
Such a pleasure. A huge thank you to our sponsors, FNB Business, the help behind unstoppable businesses. Ready to up your food, beverage and hospitality business game. Whether you're catering or running a hotel, FNB has a cash flow game plan that can help streamline your business. FNB Business help changes everything. An authorized financial services provider and credit provider.